Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. If you're new here, please subscribe. I'd really love that. If you're returning, how you doing? What we're going to be talking about today is something that was brought to my attention, and I immediately said, well, that's a red flag. There is a modern day mystery of sorts that is not just capturing local but also national attention in New Hampshire. There's not one person in the city of Nashua, and that's Nashua, in New Hampshire, or even on the national level, that seems to be able to answer a simple question. Why did a Chinese company owned by China's wealthiest man buy a warehouse in Nashua, New Hampshire for 4 times what it's estimated to be worth? Yeah. Now, the address is 80 Northwest Boulevard. It's a sprawling 300,000 square foot facility on 23 acres of land that is located approximately 6 miles north of the Massachusetts border. In January of this year, the property was quietly sold to NF North America. It's a subsidiary of China's largest water packaging supplier called Nongfu, Nongfu Spring. The company is a beverage giant in China and is owned by Zhong, I think his first name is Zhong Shanshan, Shanshan. And this guy is worth upwards of like $67 billion, and he's literally China's wealthiest guy. Yeah. And in 2024, data from the city of Nashua showed that this property was assessed at value of $15.6 million. Now, under its previous ownership of Stag Industrial, that's what it was valued at, $15.6 million. Now, the property data showed that it was ultimately sold for $67 million. I'm not good at math, but I can definitely see that there's something wrong here. Now, the lack of information that is surrounding the sale of this property has concerned a lot of people who said that they're worried about the property's central location and its proximity to military bases, which is important because of the United States defense industries and its critical infrastructure. Now, across New England, the sale raises national security concerns, which I get, because the property might be of interest to the CCP to obtain information about the United States. Like I said, immediate red flag. There is an address in Watertown, Massachusetts, that is associated with this company, but a representative of the Nongfu Spring said that it's simply a mailing address. Red flag. Now, potentially the most urgent question is whether there is any kind of national security concern, right? And the CCP is the biggest challenge that the United States of America faces in the world right now, and the property is all within 100 miles of key U.S. military facilities and transportation hubs, including the New Boston Space Force Station, Hanscom Air Force Base, Peace Air Force or Air National Guard Base, and Peace is with an S, not a C, Manchester Boston Regional Airport, Nashua Airport, and the Portsmouth Naval Shipyard, and the Joint Base Cape Cod. Yeah. So you could see why there's a lot of people scratching their heads and asking questions and saying, why is China's most richest guy buying this particular thing? It's just, nothing makes sense. First, they were buying up all of our farmland. Now they're touching water. Okay? Just saying. So now on to this. This picture was sent in by a community member, and she said, this is a bizarre radar south of NAS Pensacola. So, can you see this? Okay. And up at the top here, it says new 2025 SS payment. Okay, tap your age. You know, it's just an ad, blah, blah, blah. And over here, okay, at the time that this screenshot was sent to me, which was August 7th, 84 degrees. Okay, air quality index good. But do you see this right here in the middle? This purple, it looks like a big firework going off. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Bizarre radar, right? Bizarre radar indeed. Okay. Now everything else, like the green and the this and the that, okay, that's rain and whatnot. Okay, and the other stuff, that's clouds and fog and whatnot. But yeah, you see that purple? That's what she's talking about. Yeah. Very, very strange indeed. Thank you for sending that in, sweetie.
The bureaucrats in Washington, D.C. knew, and they said nothing. While President Donald J. Trump was out front celebrating America's explosive growth, they were sitting on a landmine of hidden data that could have changed everything. One day. That's all it would have taken for the Federal Reserve to cut rates, but they didn't, because the truth was held back up until it was too late. So now here's the twist that nobody saw coming. The so-called terrible jobs report, it wasn't a collapse. It was a purge of nearly 500,000 illegal workers from the U.S. labor force, and the rise of 383,000 new American jobs. You heard that right, guys. This wasn't economic failure. It was Trump's America First strategy in full force. And even Trump didn't fully realize it up until it was too late. Now, tonight, you're going to hear from a steel industry CEO who just shattered the media's lies. You're also going to find out why President Trump fired the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and why even CNN is being forced to quietly admit that Trump's immigration and trade policies are actually working. Now, this wasn't just a setup of media bias. It was a story beyond lies, and it was just a complete setup. Now, once you see the full picture, you're never going to trust the headlines again. So I want to go ahead and break it all down, starting with the hidden numbers and the explosive truth that the media didn't want you to find. If you appreciate the news updates, hit the like button and subscribe. So let's rewind back to August 2nd, 2025. The headlines, they were brutal. Trump's economy stalls, job growth collapses, markets react to disastrous numbers. It was not good, right? So this is what the media was screaming after the Bureau of Labor Statistics released the July jobs reports numbers, claiming that only 73,000 jobs were created, which was far short of their 100,000 plus estimate. Now, the narrative was simple. Trump's economic miracle is over. And what did President Trump do? He fired the head of the BLS, Erica McIntyre, right on the spot, called the numbers rigged, accused her of playing the same games that she played back in 2020, right before the election, reporting beautiful numbers for Biden and Kamala, and then quietly correcting them after the ballots were in. But this time, the stakes were even higher, because this wasn't just about jobs. It was about interest rates, markets, credibility, and the Fed. But what if Trump wasn't overreacting? What if the data really was manipulated, or worse, intentionally timed to block something huge? Because just one day before that BLS report dropped, the Federal Reserve announced that it would not cut interest rates. They said that the economy was just too hot. It was too strong, pointed to the 3% GDP growth in Q2 as proof that no rate relief was needed. But here's where things get a little suspicious, because literally, like, what, 24 hours later, the labor department revised May and June's job numbers down by a whopping 258,000 jobs. Now let that sink in, guys. The Fed made a policy change, one that affects every mortgage, every car loan, every business expansion in America, every credit card interest rate, based on numbers that were not even real. So here's the kicker. Had they known the revisions just one day earlier, every analyst agrees the Fed likely would have cut rates. Now, that's not a minor oversight. That is economic sabotage, because it's not just about the numbers. It is about the message, the markets, the momentum.